Hi folks! Welcome to our first video announcement for Online Humanities. Some of you probably saw where I posted I have 2 online sections of this same class this semester. So I'm going to try to record one announcement and use it for both classes and that kind of thing. And I put that little message on there, if you email me, tell me which section you're in. And that just means, if you emailed me to ask a question where I'm going to need to go in and look in the grade book at your quiz or check something for you, just tell me which section you're in so I'm not searching through the A6 section when you're in the A7 one, because A6 is completely full at 30, and by the time Dropout is over, the A7 one's probably going to be full too. So that was just to kind of help me narrow it down to which one of the 2 sections you're in. They're exactly the same. I know we've had issues about books because I placed an order for 30 books for the online class and then 20 whatever for my seated one. Now the seated one only has 13 in it, so that left some extra books there. But when they opened up that second section, it didn't automatically kick in another book order. Okay, so I hope everybody's getting the book. I meant to have a copy to show you, but it's The Art of Being Human 10th. It has to be the 10th edition. They have updated that thing so many times, and every time they completely change an entire chapter. It's not just sometimes it'll just be different pictures or whatever. They change this book to where you won't even know. The questions at the back of the chapter are different for homework and all kind of stuff. So 10th edition. It's kind of a dull beigey color with a little person dancing on the front kind of thing. If you don't have it, you need to get it really soon. But you can, hopefully, if you don't have it yet, you still did the discussion for this week that closes tonight. I'm recording this on Sunday, the 17th. Hopefully you still did that. The discussion boards for next week you can still do as well without the textbook. It might help if you had it, but you can still do it so you don't miss those points. So don't just assume if you haven't got your book yet you can't really do anything, because you will quickly find out with the discussion boards you have to do it in the week it's assigned or you can't do it, because the point is to put your thoughts and then read what everybody else did and respond to them, and then maybe they respond back, and to kind of get a conversation going. And if everybody else has already done it and they've moved on to another topic, it's pointless for you to be doing it all by yourself. So discussion boards are really important that you do in that week that they are assigned. Okay. The way they'll work is they will open up, if you have 1, sometimes 2 discussion boards in a week, they'll open up really early Monday morning. And then you have until Wednesday night at midnight to create your own thread and put your answer to whatever that question is. Okay? And then, after everybody's done that by Wednesday, you have Thursday through Sunday to go back in whenever you want, as many times as you want, read what everybody else has posted, respond to at least 2 people, but you can respond to more. And by respond, I mean a substantive response, not, oh, I agree, or, oh, that's interesting. An actual response where you make a comment, you add a thought to it, you ask a question, whatever. But there's a rubric that I will grade all the discussions by, and there's a copy of it in the assignments tab that shows you exactly what I'm looking for. It has to do with, did you do it on the correct timeline? Did you do the amount of responses you're supposed to do, and were they actually good responses? With your answer, did you answer the question? Did you give examples? Did you explain yourself? All of that. And you can look at that rubric and see exactly what I expect to get full points, to get, half the points, whatever. All right? And so when I grade, I go through, I see what you posted, and I just click through that little rubric and it adds it up. All right? So make sure you look at that rubric and understand how I'm going to grade it. And then make sure you just do the discussion boards. They're really important because they're what creates our community and our discussion. This class in its seated form is just a lot of talking, and we do show and tell, and people bring in stuff, and then we talk about whether we think it's art or not, and all of this stuff. So it's a very class discussion oriented method. Okay, So the discussion board in the online version is the only way we have to try to recreate some of that. So make sure you're doing those discussion boards. With the discussion board, with your quizzes and your homeworks, I drop the lowest of all of those. Not to help your average, but in case you miss a discussion board, you can't make that up. That's dropped. If you miss a quiz, that's your dropped quiz. If you don't do one of your homeworks, that's a dropped homework. I don't do makeups because everybody gets one boo-boo, right? Everybody gets one missed deadline, one something. Now, if you do all the quizzes, then the lowest one of those will get dropped and it will help your average. If you don't miss any homeworks, but you don't get a good grade on one, then that'll get dropped. But that's why I do it, is so I don't have to decide, well, this person had a valid excuse for missing the homework, but this person didn't. Everybody gets a freebie. The end. With the homework, I'm in the process of creating a rubric for grading that as well. Whatever the homework assignment is, and they're not all listed on the weekly schedule, but each week in the announcement, if you have homework, I will tell you what that is. I'm looking more for your effort that you put into it than necessarily getting the right answer. For example, when we do the chapter on moral philosophies, some of those are kind of, you gotta maybe need a verbal explanation and then ask a couple of questions, and we need to apply it to actually make it make sense. So when you do that homework, and I'm asking you in the homework to sort of summarize what you think what they are, if you don't really understand it, that's okay, because that's your first thing at it. And then I'm going to answer questions, and we're going to do a discussion board, and we're going to kind of learn about it. Give it your best shot. It might not be right, but I will give you points for effort, is what I'm saying. Okay? I'm looking for you to answer the questions thoroughly, giving examples, making connections. I look at it this way. A C means you did what you had to do. Okay? You write there's a question, you write a few words, answer to it. You answered it. A B means you were a little more thorough. You did a little bit more. You answered with a couple of complete sentences and gave an example. An A means you have gone above and beyond what the average person did. Just doing something is not an A. C is average. You did it. A means you've gone a lot farther. You've given examples. You've explained it well. You've made connections between the chapter that you're reading and the question you're asked in the real world or whatever. All right? So that's how I kind of look at homework. And like I said, I'm working on a rubric that will help outline that in more detail. So you will have discussion boards each week. You've got 5 quizzes that will open on a Wednesday and close on a Sunday night. You have 1 attempt to log in and take it in that 5-day window. Homework you won't have every week. You do have one, not this week, but the week after. And then a lot of it's going to be more like once we get to the theme chapters with chapter 10 and on, then you will have homework on most of those chapters. The other thing is critique papers, okay? And I will go into more detail about this in a separate video, because I'm going to make a video about Apollonian Dionysian analysis, which is what we're learning about this week. I'm going to give you like a movie clip to watch first, and then I'm going to discuss that movie clip and how that applies to analyzing things and all of that. Our goal is to learn how to analyze a piece of art intellectually, objectively. You may not like it, but you can still look at it and kind of break it down. This is, all of that. And then to also look at it from an emotional perspective. It made me feel this, and here's why I think it made me cry or laugh or get angry or whatever it is. And like I say, I'm going to post a separate video with a lot more detail about that will then just be available for the semester for you to refer to whenever you need to. It occurred to me the other day as I saw something neat and I shared it with my seated humanities class. And I was like, I do that all the time with my seated class. Like if I see a neat little piece of artwork or a little video clip on Facebook or something, when class starts, I'll just show it to them and we'll talk about it a little bit. And I was like, it's really not fair that the online students never get that. So I'm going to create this week what I'm just going to call the archive or cool. I don't know what I'm going to call it, but it's basically going to be a little tab where you can just go in and see stuff I found. You know, if you're bored, you can go in there and be like, oh, that's a video about whatever dance piece or whatever. And sometimes it might be connected to a discussion board or a grade, or sometimes I might just put it in there for something to look at, you know. But I hate that I'm always sharing that stuff with my seated classes and then the online ones don't get it. So I'm trying to figure out a way to kind of share that stuff with you guys as well. But with this method of critique we're doing, you're going to do it first with the poem homework next week, the week of the 25th. You're going to do the poem. That'll be a short one. Then you're going to have a song critique paper where, and you see that in the assignments tab, but I'm going to add some different songs in there, so don't start on that yet unless you just really need to, because I'm going to add some different stuff in there. But it'll give you an idea, like you're going to take a song and analyze it. And we'll do one in a discussion board during that week when you're starting that paper and kind of talk about a song in the discussion board, and then then you'll do a separate paper that'll be longer in more detail. Then you're going to watch a movie, and it's a very specific movie, just like I'm giving you a very specific poem. With all of these papers, I'm giving you the thing to critique, except for the very last one. We're going to watch a movie called Stranger Than Fiction. It's got Will Ferrell, Queen Latifah, Emma Thompson, Dustin Hoffman, Maggie Gyllenhaal, those two guys from the Sonic commercials where they're sitting there eating hot dogs or whatever. They're in it too. You're going to watch this movie and write a paper about it. And each one of these is worth a little bit more percentage-wise of your final grade. I expect it to be a little longer, a little more detailed. Like we're kind of practicing as we go along. And then at the end of the semester, you're going to pick a piece of art you love. It could be a painting you love, your favorite movie, a song you really like, a book, whatever, and write a paper about that using this same style of analysis we've been doing all semester. Okay? So, it's a very sort of specific format that I'm looking for you to use. To break it down objectively, intellectually, and then emotionally. Because we need both of those things. You need to have both halves together to get a real appreciation for art. And then you'll have a midterm and a final. And that kind of comprises all of your grades. I would say the big thing is to make sure you keep up with the schedule. The weekly schedule tells you what chapters you need to read for that week. It's got when the quizzes are, when the papers are due, that kind of thing. It doesn't necessarily have exact discussion board assignments and stuff or exact homework assignments. But it does outline when all the big stuff is. So you can always go back to that weekly schedule. It'll help you look ahead for what's coming up if you're trying to plan and say, okay, I got a big paper for English due this week. Do I also have something for humanities or whatever? And then the weekly announcement will be your best friend. That weekly announcement will cover everything you need to do that week and when you need to do it. And you will notice that deadlines are going to kind of go in a pattern. Discussion board, first your post by Wednesday night, have till Sunday night to do your responses. Homework, when you have a homework assignment, I can't remember if I put on the schedule this time Thursday or Friday, but it'll either be Thursday night at midnight or Friday night at midnight. Although a lot of times with the homework, especially in the second half, you need to have read the chapter and done the homework really to do the discussion board, but maybe you just read it and then go back and do the homework, whatever. Quizzes will open on Wednesday, close on Sunday night. You got one attempt in there somewhere to take that quiz. So you got to plan ahead and say, okay, this week I've got all this going on, but I know Saturday afternoon I can sit down and take that quiz. You can't log in and out. You got to just take it, sit down, don't do anything else on your computer, don't get up and walk off, don't do anything. Just take the quiz. And I'll give you a little more detail when your first quiz comes up. I'll give a little bit more stuff I want you to make sure you do when you're taking your quiz. So just always watch that weekly announcement. Of course, you can always ask me questions. One thing I will say, kind of going back to the critiques really quickly, none of these critiques involve research. I am not interested in what the New York Times said about the movie. I'm not interested in what Wikipedia says about the poem I give you. I want to know what you think. And if you use outside sources, you will not get a grade. Don't go to IMDb and copy a chunk of paragraph where they've analyzed something. I want to know what you think, and only what you think. Your papers should only come out of your brain, no one else's. Okay? I'm very serious about this. I'm not interested in what any other writer, person, critic, anything thinks about a work of art. I want to know what you think about it. And so your paper should be only your own thoughts and analysis, or you will get a 0. Okay? Now, there are concepts to learn in this class. We talk about the different philosophies about morality. Yes, I want you to know the difference between moral mathematics and altruism and all of that. Like, there are concepts to learn. There are terms, there are ideas, there are things, details. But a lot of this class, when it comes to discussion boards or your papers or whatever, there is not an answer I am looking for. When you analyze the poem, I am not looking for you to say, this poem means blah, blah, blah. I'm looking to find out what you think it means, what you got out of it. Did it mean something to you? Was it interesting to you? What do you think this little phrase symbolized? I want to know what you think. So, in some ways, this class freaks people out sometimes because it's not like math where there's an answer to get, and once you've got that answer, I have mastered this. Or biology, I've memorized the parts of the cell, and here are the parts of the cell. You must use your brain. You must use your opinions, your critical thinking skills. I want you to, I've got a 6-year-old, to do what his teacher tells him, to put your thinking cap on. Okay? If you're like me, and you love movies or music or whatever, you enjoy these things, maybe if you're like me, you sit around and talk about it and analyze it with your friends or your husband or whatever. Or maybe you just go, oh, that was a good movie, and you move on with your life, as most people do. I'm asking you to dig a little deeper than that. Why did you like it? Why did you not like it? What do you think the artist was trying to say? What do you think the director was trying to get across? What do you think the poet was trying to tell us? Do you think the song has something to say to everybody, or is it just something only a few people are going to be able to relate to? This sounds very vague and unhelpful, I know. But I want to know your thought process. I'm interested not in necessarily getting a specific answer. I might show you something and you think it's the dumbest thing ever. Or you might watch Stranger Than Fiction and be like, I hated that movie so much. Fine. If you hate it, fine. But why? Why did you hate it? What was it about it that turned you off? What do you think they were trying to do that didn't work for you? Whatever, okay? So, my point is just, if you're the kind of person who likes to memorize facts and regurgitate them, there'll be a little bit of that in here, but that's not really what this class is about. Okay? It's about, let's think about why we like what we like and why we don't like what we don't like. And how artists communicate to us and what one person thinks is amazing, another person's like, eh. But that's what we're getting at in this class. So I think it's a lot of fun. Hopefully by the end of the semester, if you're sitting here going, oh my God, what have I gotten myself into? Hopefully by the end of the semester, you'll see the point is not to take all the fun out of watching a movie or anything, but to gain more appreciation for what went into making that movie. When I teach film appreciation, which is a really great class, by the way, we watch all these movies and we learn about all the people involved. I mean, look at the credits after a movie. All of those people that were involved in making that 2 hours of entertainment. When you understand what goes into that, you appreciate it more because you go, oh my God, how did they think of this? And, how did they coordinate all of these ideas? And the point is not to take the enjoyment out of art, but to help you develop more appreciation for it. And maybe get introduced to a few things you never would have seen otherwise, which is not a bad thing either. Okay. Clearly, my throat is telling me to stop talking. So, I'm going to record this week, in addition to this, a discussion of Apollonian-Dionysian analysis and a little short video where I'm going to talk about something they took out of your textbook in the last edition, the struggles of the artist, how artists have been treated throughout history, issues modern-day artists have, censorship, that kind of thing. I don't know if I'm going to do those tonight because I'm using a new method for recording and uploading, and I've got to make sure this works first. But once I've got it figured out, I will put those in as well. So, to sort of wrap this up, let me know whatever questions you have about the class, the assignments. I wouldn't be worried about the papers too much at this point, but, when we get there, I am happy to help, and I am always here, but I can't help you if you don't tell me, okay? If you've never taken an online class, a lot of times people have a hard time getting into it because you have to be proactive. You've got to stay on top of things because you can't have me there all the time telling you what to do and when to do it. But I'm here to help if you need it, okay? All right, I hope this video was helpful, and let me know if you have any questions.